So, yeah, just keep it.
But I got it. I did everything with my own. So I'll bring kind of people on the road.
All right, go ahead. 7 o'clock. Let's get this party started. Welcome, everyone. Hey, bro, how are you doing? Glad you could make it. Call to order. Let's go ahead and do the pledge. And Deborah, could you lead the way? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Stacy?
Mayor Benson?
Here.
Mr. Dodson?
Here.
Ms. Hagan?
Here.
Mr. Hummel?
Here.
Ms. Walton? Here. And Mr. Troncone?
Here.
What about me?
Oh, I'm sorry. My screen didn't go down that far.
Whoa! It's Wi-Fi problems. There's
I see
Wi-Fi.
that. Ms.
We're just
Shea,
like
are you
being
present tonight?
I am present.
Very good.
And a calendar. All
I
right.
didn't have my screen down that far. I'm sorry.
Should be before, since
You
it's
should have been
alphabetical
before
order.
Mr. Troncone.
Yes.
My apologies.
We will fix that. We apologize. All right. So, one of my goals as a newly elected mayor is that we really want to use work sessions to roll up the sleeves, ask the questions, do the research, and so forth, which then leads into the town council meeting for us to vote on and so forth. So, we made a commitment that we were going to get the information out to the public. We're going to provide it on our back table. We're going to have it out everywhere. There's 3 items on our agenda, and we will make a commitment to always stick to those 3 items because we're advertising to the public the 3 items, 4 items, whatever they are. So if for some reason as we're going through this, somebody says, yeah, I got an idea. Great, bring it up to council. We'll put it on the next work session. But to keep our transparency with our public, I do not want to add stuff to our agenda because I think it defeats our purpose. So just want to get that across. At this moment in time, we're going to public comment, but even though you're the only public out there, no comment yet. You have 2 roles today.
You're our public person.
And I'm going to turn the next item, 3A, over to Gwen, and she can lead us into it.
Who is here. I'm not going to, just a couple words because Deborah is really a star for this evening, but just to turn it over to Deborah. Tonight we're really excited to share, we've given you guys a little bit of teasers, you know about the summit, we shared the report. The EDC has met, gone deeper into some of the specific recommendations, and so that's what we wanted to share tonight at a work session. If you have comments, questions, just so that we bring you guys along, know where our heads are, what the committee is thinking. So I'll just turn it over to Deborah to kind of lead us through. We put it into the form of a presentation for you guys. So.
Let me try this out. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council.
So formal.
I know. I was 26 years in Coast Guard.
And everybody knows Deborah is the chair. We have a little bit of change, is the chair of the EDC. Lisa Payne was a co-chair, but has since moved to Chesapeake Beach. So she's actually now kind of our liaison to the beach. So Deborah is
To the Chesapeake Beach.
Yeah.
EDC. She's the main Montana Progressive full chair and regional. Joanne. Joanne.
Oh,
I wonder why. Does it need to be better?
I don't know, but here, I'll operate.
You just switch on the
kinda-
side.
Oh, yeah, switch on the side. I don't know which switch.
Power on, first question.
exactly.
Perfect.
So I want to give you some background. As Gwen mentioned, in October we had our inaugural business summit, and we put feelers out. We actually met with Sharon Hall first, who is the head of the North Beach Business League, to see if they would be receptive to this, the businesses. And she met with the business league, the members that are members of the business league, and they were wholeheartedly would like to do this. And the reason that we wanted to hold the business summit was to have open conversation with the businesses to see how we could better support them. So about 32 businesses came. And they were not just brick and mortar, there were, in-home businesses, the Airbnbs, or vacation property owners, I should say, restaurants, retail, a variety of members, 32. And the format that we used for this inaugural event was, we had round tables and had business owners in each one, we spread them out evenly, and had flip charts, and they were given the 4 questions ahead of time that we had, and I'll go through those quickly. So they were able to review those. Sharon had shared with me that they went through them as a group and, kind of had an idea where they were, so they could come with some input before they just solved them also. And then our 7 EDC members were there, all of us were there, as well as donor liaison.
Pretty much everybody, I think, at this table, up here was there.
Yes,
Right? Yeah,
and,
everybody.
yes, that's
Yeah.
true. I thought most of them were.
Yeah, I think
Most
so.
of you that were members were there. I think you were there. So, and we saw it as they came in very positively, camaraderie, a lot of excitement, even before it started, and then as they came in, because we allowed time for sort of a meet and greet, and we had refreshments, so they could, talk to one another before they got around the tables. So, as I mentioned, we posed 4 questions, and the 4 questions were: what is the draw? What factors contribute to your successes and challenges? What opportunities are being missed? How can the EDC help support your businesses? So, as you'll see as I go through these, there were some common themes, and not exclusively, but a few that I wanted to share right up front were that they love that it was a walk, and these are either part of suggestions, successes, concerns, why they were attracted to the town. We kind of went, this thread went throughout the various questions. One was walkable town, the water attraction, sense of community, and need for more winter events. So here's question 2. What factors contribute to your successes and challenges? Some of the successes, again, that common theme I mentioned was, they mentioned the walk, and you can obviously read this and you have the report, but they like the walkable town and the sense of community that North Beach provides. Challenges, need for more winter events. That came up over and over and over again. So it was very successfully seasonally. We have a lot of, core season things going on to bring visitors and for things, residents as well. But from January to March, it's sort of a dead zone for them. So it is for the businesses. They also mentioned more than once that they feel that there's a marked division between the east and west side of 261. And they also wanted, they were interested in not only having their own businesses prosper, and I'll cover that later, how we can help them with that, but also to have the town be a place where it might encourage new business growth. There were mentions of parking and also local business competition with the town. So question number 3, what opportunities are missed? Again, they mentioned the winter festivals. They actually wanted to cross-promote activities with Chesapeake Beach. That was mentioned a few times, not just and I know that has come up in the past, and again, I'll address that more specifically later in this presentation. This is just a overview of this past summit, inaugural summit. And then marketing. So I think some of them they weren't familiar with some of the stuff that Dawn already did, which I had shared that, with social media, she does a lot. And we went back to Dawn with that, but we mentioned it that night, but we went back to Dawn with that, and she really sent a very, very extensive, nice email back to all of the businesses, so they could see, everything that was being done already. And question 3 was, what opportunities are being missed? And as you can see here, this again, we're at directional signage on 2nd and Chesapeake Avenue. But also, they mentioned the pier again and the water again, and just, how can we focus on that? It was kind of 2, west of 261, but not just waterfront as waterfront, and pier. That was mentioned. And then question 4 was, how can the EDC help promote, help support businesses? And one of the things they mentioned is they really would love it if the mayor and the town council visited their businesses. So we'd love to see them in, all of them mentioned that. Come visit us, you know. I don't think their expectation was even that you buy something, although that might be nice. But they just wanted to see you there. So that,
Are there questions at the end?
Absolutely.
And also, they wanted more information for themselves about grants and other information that would help support their growth. And again, I'll address that. They also mentioned branding, identification, you know, whether are we arts, ecotourism, both, just are, you know, where are we headed with that as well. So I have general recommendations and next steps, and then I'll get into some specifics that the EDC has been discussing to present to you. So one of them is to strengthen the economic development efforts between with supporting existing businesses and increasing new businesses, as I mentioned. And one of the ways that we have already started to do that is we're collaborating with Chesapeake Beach EDC. And as Gwen mentioned in the beginning, we even have a liaison there now that can go to their monthly meetings and bring back that information. And then we're also talking to the Calvert County Economic Development team, and I'll tell you about that more specifically. And going on more with the general recommendations and next steps is, again, the branding that I mentioned, talking about the walkable town and art focus, use of the pier, water accessibility, ecotourism, and I'm going to talk a little bit about beach trolley / bus. So one of the also main next steps that we addressed was having stronger communication between the businesses in town. And I did mention about you visiting. That would be one thing, just for you to be visible. But also, they really did like this inaugural summit, and they really wanted to have another one. They were. My impression was they really, not impression. They literally verbalized it, but they really wanted. They were very hopeful. You know, like this was a really good first one. We really hope we get to continue to do this. You know, that's not just that, okay, we hear you, and then we just move on. So with that, we as an EDC, want to present to you is we really want to have a summit biannually. I'll get into it a little more specifically, but we're thinking now the end of April would be our second one. We would have a fall and a spring. Mentioned traveling to the different businesses, and we're really looking at trying to facilitate a relationship that avoids having unintended consequences. You know, like an event that, I know there was a controversial one with the polar plunge and somebody else was selling hot chocolate, you know. So inconsequential, you didn't think that was, you didn't know ahead of time these things would impact them, and it did. So, some of our short-term recommendations. We have some, the main categories I have are art projects, the beach trolley / bus, the winter festival, and the use of the pier, and cross-promoting with Chesapeake Beach. So I'll go through these individually. So the art projects. The goal of having an art project is to bring more people to the town. It supports the arts branding that we've started. It's going to continue with that branding. It supports the business's request for encouraging people to walk around town, because these art projects, or I'll get into a couple examples that have been suggested, would bring people around town who wouldn't just be walking along the waterfront. And a couple examples that we have were painted pots. I believe Cece mentioned that. And we have pots around town anyway, and we paint them, and it would be an art piece that people would see as they walk around. Another one is the Calvert County had a seahorse. I know those of you that have lived in Calvert County for a long time remember the seahorse project they had. It was a sculpture. And Annapolis has chickens, and they're still there. I was there last night for horticulture meeting. And then New Bern, North Carolina, I was there recently last year, and they had like big fairs. So somebody sponsors that art sculpture, whatever it is, and then they have it painted, and then they're around town. So people could walk around, take a picture with them. Danita, who is the economic development, Calvert County Economic Development contact, had mentioned that some, I can't remember the town now, but she mentioned that a town had done the boots that fishermen wear. They were cement, but they were supposed to be replicas, and people would get in them and take their picture. You know, but they were all painted differently. So these are just some examples, and they could be placed around town, and that would cause people to walk around and see them and take a picture, take a selfie. And then the painted pots is another one that would certainly support the beautification and arts of the town. Okay, so I know I had just moved here when I think it was on its last, season. So I know of the beach trolley that was here before. The two Chesapeake Beach EDC contacts, and it was myself and Lisa from here, met last spring into the summer, trying to develop, because their town really wanted to try to revitalize it. Knowing the old business model failed and wasn't sustainable, we thought, well, let's just at least meet and see what we can start to develop. So with very, 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 very constricted from what it was before. So we started to progress just to get that, developed so we could present it. And then decided that with the new administration coming, we would just stop and wait and then readdress it once there was a new administration in place. So we're at that point where we stopped. I mean, I even collected data and such from the old business model and then the new business model that we were pretending. So I will, we're going to meet again and just at least develop that business model so it's something we can present again and we can, make a decision on that. I will point out the Chesapeake Beach mayor is currently, and what he has seen so far of the business model, is positive, but about that right now. So the Winter Festival, one of the specific ones that we were thinking about is, again, it's still in December, and I know we have other events in December, but it was something that would bring people in and walk around town, and it would have businesses staying open later to offer holiday refreshments. People would come into that business, have some refreshments. Who doesn't like something to drink and eat? And then they'd be in that business and see what it's like. And then I know I have the other half, the garden club president, possibly combine with them to have maybe a couple of houses. I'm not talking a full-out tour like we do in June, which now is only going to be every year. But something, if we had a couple of people that would like to have their homes open for a stroll through there too. So use of the pier. We basically just, it's not used very much. And some of the ideas that we were brainstorming was possible, group kayak events. Of course, that has the issue of the launching the kayaks from there. Ecotourism events, perhaps a water taxi from the end of the pier. I mean, that's even something we discussed if the beach trolley bus / doesn't come to fruition, that maybe the possibility of a water taxi between Chesapeake Beach here and Harrington Harbor. Those were 3 places that we would suggest for the trolley anyway. And then cross-promoting with Chesapeake Beach. We have a upcoming meeting between North Beach, Chesapeake Beach, EDCs, and Calvert County Economic Development contacts. You can help me with this. I don't have it written down in front of me, but we had Danita, and then
Danita, I think Kelly Slagle,
Holly, Heidi.
No, Hillary.
Hillary
I knew it was an
Daly.
H.
Yeah, tourism.
Tourism.
And just to have a conversation.
Bob
It's-
Carpenter
Yeah,
with Chamber of Commerce. So
Yeah.
we're just going to have a
exactly.
small group. And another cross promotion that we're doing, as I mentioned, the beach bus, developing a business model that you can look at. The 5G project that I know I met this week or last week. And we work with them with Taste the Beaches too. So, in closing, some of our thoughts for the spring summit that I mentioned, when we think the end of April would be a good time and have it here. And we were thinking of the format for this one to actually have a panel of those same people that we just mentioned. And the businesses can interact with one another again, but we'd actually have a panel of authorities that they can interact, have a interaction with. And Danita said to us, what's really good with something like that is to make sure that every business owner leaves with some sort of pearl that helps them with their business. And I think with a panel like that, it's a very diverse panel that could provide that to them, whatever they're looking for. So, that's it, I believe. Yep, that is it. So if you have any questions, either Gwen or I can answer them.
No, that's excellent, Deborah. I mean, there's a lot of just great information came out of that initial summit.
It did.
So just kind of distilling it down to some specifics. The EDC doesn't have to do everything, shouldn't do everything, but really wants to be a liaison. That's the goal, and bring information back to the council. So, I mean, I think, just great ideas. And no, we just wanted to hear questions, comments, thoughts from mayor and council as we go forward. I know Stacy probably wants to weigh in on the thoughts, but let you guys react to what was just shared.
Please.
Yeah, I made a couple notes. In-home businesses, I have to be a champion. I have to be the in-home champion business, sorry.
The what? I'm sorry.
So the plan for council and mayor to meet with the businesses one-on-one, does that include in-home businesses too, or are we just talking about brick and mortar?
My impression was that brick and mortar
Yeah, that was
businesses,
my
because
impression
the other
too.
ones don't open themselves to that, to the public like that. So my impression was they just, wanted to.
So is the assumption that in-home businesses are not open to providing their service to the public?
No. In fact, the ones that weren't brick and mortar were invited to that summit.
Yeah, I understand, I was there. I'm just curious. So the focus is basically just brick and mortar?
No, there's not at all. Just the visiting in the businesses. I mean, unless if there's an in-home business that wants the council to come to their home, but I just,
Well, that's not what I was thinking. I was thinking more like, it's kind of like the stepchild forgotten in-home businesses, and maybe not right now, but sometime in the future, less than 5 years. Perhaps there's a way to embrace that community as a whole, as a subset, and then try to figure out how to map. See, the experience that I've had is that brick and mortar businesses see in-home businesses that have a complimentary service as a threat to their own business.
I didn't get that at all from that night.
Mhm.
No.
No, I'm not saying that from that night. I'm just saying from my own experience as being an in-home business and having a complimentary business in town that runs the same service. So I'm just saying, at some point, that group actually does bring revenue to the town and can spend money in the town, so we should probably look at.
So what's your
how they-
problem statement or question?
So
I'm
the
not sure.
problem statement, the question was simply, how does the council and the mayor plan to embrace in-home
Do
businesses?
you have a recommendation for what you'd like to see happen?
Yeah, I do actually. I actually do,
Should we address
You
the
know, it's
zoning
naval
first?
officers, never been a problem with us, has it been?
I think we need to look at the zoning, what type of in-home business, because there's zoning restrictions too on homeowners operating businesses out of their house. So as much as we need to promote it, we also need to be careful what you ask for.
Oh, I understand, because you have to pay the taxes, all kinds of things.
Maybe parking.
And that's not a problem. If it's a source of revenue, it should be looked at.
Well, and some businesses, I own my own business, it's virtual, but
Right.
it doesn't necessarily, it's not specific to North Beach. Some people have in-home businesses and their business could be on the other side of the country.
Right.
Maybe we can have an off,
But-
like make
yes.
it, just so we don't hold up
Yeah.
time, but we can make
Yeah.
a note
Yeah, okay.
and go from
Yeah,
there.
I'm okay with that. I'm just-
Yeah.
But as far as these business summits go,
Yeah.
and EDC interacting, we did invite.
Oh, I know, I was there.
Yeah,
It was
yeah, I
fine.
remember.
It's
Right.
just that the caution that I have here is we did that, we kumbaya with everybody, and then now we're veering back to brick and mortar. So I'm just.
No, we're not, Elizabeth, it was all inclusive, and you'll come to the
that's
next
fine.
summit.
Figure my perception
The only
out.
thing is that walking in, because there's not a way to walk into, I mean, unless you want to invite the other, or an in-home business wants to personally invite a town council person to go in, otherwise I don't think they would just go knocking on the door to visit, whereas if it's a brick and mortar. then
Yeah,
it's-
I agree with
it's-
Councilwoman here, we need to like explore that.
Yeah, let's just make a note. We
Yeah,
can follow
yeah,
up.
yeah, it's not a big
Yeah.
deal, it's just keep it on the table.
Okay. Any other?
Yeah, is there a way that we can get a list of what these in-home businesses are? I mean, you
Sure,
sit here and
we
and you
can.
really don't know. what
Well,
they
we have
are.
the ones that were on our
Our
list,
list,
but
right.
I don't know if
in
there's
front of
others
you.
in town that we don't know about.
We'll get it.
We
can
had ones
definitely
that
get
we
it.
knew about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
definitely
I mean,
get
that's
it.
Yeah, we have an email
That's my
distribution
point.
list that.
How can we?
We can,
help
that's
that?
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just a
No.
follow-on item, I don't think you have to make it a major
Right.
priority right now, because it sounds like, making year-round events is probably a bigger priority, and the best way to do that is leverage the brick and mortars that you have and help boost their capability. But I'm pretty sure that there's some in-home businesses who want to participate, even if it's just to have a booth set up somewhere or something. So you just,
Yeah.
there's just lots of ideas out there, and just
Mhm.
the other one was follow-on with online presence, but I think that's a follow-up to this whole issue about, the viability of that particular group of businesses and how they contribute to the economy, or can contribute to the economy, so, that's good. And then I only have one other question, unless someone else has a
Okay.
question. So I'm really loving the arts thing, and the boots thing kind of excited me, maybe because I wore boots for so long, and still do. But it also kind of piqued my interest about identity. There's always this question about North Beach and the identity that North Beach has, or what is our identity? And I like that idea where that town that decided, they had the fishermen, so they had fishermen booths, that just really spoke to who they were, and people could go, I'm just wondering if we'd ever thought about that, and all the artwork that we're doing, how do we focus who we are, who are we, besides the town in between two resorts. It's more just throwing ideas out there. I really don't particularly have a axe or anything.
Everything can be addressed. Anything else?
Say we were the first fire department in the world.
That's right.
Volunteer.
All right.
Just real quick, I know Stacy wanted, do you want to mention your piece about the pots?
For the painted pots, yes. I actually came up with that idea, and I'm gonna show you a picture of why I feel we need to somehow move forward and address that. These are the pots in front of the museum.
Yeah.
They're beautiful, aren't they? They're lovely.
Very natural.
I came off the printer when I was printing something
Oh,
else.
first, no.
This is plastic, right?
Yeah.
Or that's clay.
They're paratype.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. You're right.
Well, of course they're empty right now, it's cold.
No, look
No,
at
no,
the
the
pots. So, this week I've been talking to Glenn about it for a while, and I actually got an email from a young lady, just by chance, saying that she was looking for a paint project to do in North Beach. So, I emailed her back and said, we actually have an art project we're looking to do in North Beach, and I forwarded it to Glenn. Did you look at her Facebook page?
I did, yeah. And I shared it with Deborah too.
I looked at it.
So Julian and I were talking about it today, and then she came up with another idea. You know how they shrink wrap cars with different
Wraps.
Wraps. So that also could be an idea, painting or shrink wrapping.
Because there's 72 of them.
I know, and I think, so we won't take tonight, but so some of the things that we've been talking about, maybe we can all come back together is, who's painting? We don't want it to be like bad painting. There's just some logistics to think about. So I think, yeah, maybe we can have it offline about, you know, how much, what's the cost of the paint, how, so there's just a lot of logistical questions, but I think the idea, I think everybody likes the idea, right?
It's easier to change.
And another thought might be to have, we've had high school groups plant. They could do that, they have art, they do art,
Right.
you know, maybe they want to do something like from community service.
A youth activity or.
Youth activity.
Or something like the art department, maybe.
Right.
That's what I'm.
Exactly.
That's what I meant.
Budding artists.
Like, you don't want me painting the pots.
No.
No, I don't think any of us want to paint the pots.
Yeah, exactly.
So themes, are we gonna, you know, do
Right.
we wanna do the Maryland flag, do we wanna do nautical themes? So you
Sea life, the birds, I mean,
Right.
you know.
You want
Yeah.
to hide little things in it so they can do a little, how to go to each place and piece it together?
Right, you
Yeah,
know,
that's a great idea.
Yeah,
right. Do we do pots as a marketing thing, do we want a prize in town?
hey, you stuff the
And you can
rocks.
change the theme.
Exactly. One
One year
ties
we could
into
be
your
Cinderella,
brand.
next year we could be Pussy Boots, who knows?
Well, why do we want people to come here? We can tie it into our tourism, we can tie it into our brand, we can all of that, so.
See if you
Have
can
fun,
find-
whatever y'all want to do.
Yeah, so,
Everyone with the booze.
yeah.
All right.
But Deborah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Deborah.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move into two other items that is on our agenda. One is the replacement of the Public Works, the well house at the Public Works. These are two items. One will be the water meter replacements, and the other one is the well house. Joanne's going to go ahead and give the presentation. These are two critical areas that we need to address, and I think we did a great job getting you all the facts, all the information. Also on there, if you have not had the pleasure, Mr. Bowen, head of DPW, would be more than happy to give you a tour of all of this in the next 7 days before the next town council meeting, where we would, if the pleasure is to vote on it. So please, you have the facts, let's make some things happen. No charge. Joanne?
Okay, basically, if no one's had an opportunity to review, I just want to give a little bit of history here. We've been aware that these two things need to be accomplished for the last 2.5 to 3 years. And we've made several steps to try to address the issue. One of the last ones was to apply for Maryland Water Quality funds for the well house and the meter replacement projects. We were included on the potential funding list, but when they refined their list, we were dropped from the actual funding list. But during the FY19 budget, we included funds in there in anticipation of a new debt service. So we'll get to that as we go through, but that total is the $64,800 that you saw in the breakdown further down in the PowerPoint. The well house structure, I've sent pictures included in here that kind of shows you the conditions. Some have actually been to the site and viewed it. The estimates are conservative, and Donnie will get into that portion of it and address any questions for that. The other section that we're going to deal with is the replacement of meters, and giving you how many meters that we need to replace and what that cost would be. None of the costs involved the installation of the meter, and that was going to be a different discussion with a sample RFP that you have included in our packet. So what I'm proposing is that we do not go any further into debt into the two utility funds. Now, we've already implemented a 5-year conservation plan, which, Paul, we're on schedule, even with the delay. So we're still in that 5-year window. We'll talk more about that budget. But to take the money that we had set for debt service, which was going to be a 10-year projection, to include that in our budget moving forward every year to gain capital monies for improvements as they come up, so we're not in this position again. So that's also included in this synopsis. On the life of a meter is between 15 or 18 to 20 years Ours have been in the ground since 1990. So that gives you any indication, they've done pretty well. And when a meter fails, this is just a little offsite, when a meter fails, it doesn't go faster, it slows down. So it doesn't click as much as it should. So that's a fable to say when it goes bad, it goes. Anyway, I just like throwing that in there as a point of reference. What our replacement rotation is, once we get past this initial bulk purchase that we're proposing, is a 5 to 7 year cycle of replacement. So we're not doing all the meters at one time. And that's in our capital plan. All right, I'd like to go to page 3 of the proposal. And that shows where we are. The total price came up to $141,000 for all the meters, the 700 and some that we're proposing. It includes both the meter and the dual port and radio read sensors that we need for each of the meters. Because if you're not aware, you should be aware, that a lot of our new meters are radio reads. And with that, that helps us as far as a person going out and reading each, touching, feeling each meter, and errors. So that's why we went to radio. And this includes going to full radio, which is a blessing, trust me. I do the billing. All right, so we have existing meters as 1,007. San Francisco is less than 6 years old. They have 135 meters in there, so those don't need replacing. Minus the meters that are less than 5 years old, as we've been going each year, Donnie and his crew have replaced meters as needed or identified. There were 109 of those. So those don't need it. So that's what gets you to the 763 that we need. If you look at pages 4 and 5, there's 2 vendors. Now, from the 2 vendors, LB Water is selling census meters. And that's the meters we use now. And census meters use our interrogator and our software. So there would be no requirement for additional software or meter reader. So we have all that available, we just need to purchase the meters from them. The other vendor is for a different meter, and I believe that is a, do you remember Ferguson, what type of meter that is? The Badger meter?
Mueller meter.
Mueller meter, which is different. And you can see that it's $211,000. It includes purchase of software, all the things that we wouldn't have to do should we go with LB Water. I've already spoke to Alyssa, because we use census. We have used census. Everything is set up for census reading. We can purchase through LB Water directly. And the reason that is important is because LB Water has offered us this significant discount, which is reflected in here, if we buy more than 500 meters at a time. So she's already okayed that. The only part that's not okay and would require an RFP would be the installation portion. And Donnie will speak to that, and he'll also prepare or help prepare the RFP that we'll need to send out for council approval. Okay? The census meters, they'll install, they offer a 10-year warranty straight off the bat, but I already told you the life expectancy for those. So I feel like we can, if no one has any questions on the meter side, is there any questions that I can answer before we move to the well house? Yeah.
So there are 200 and some that aren't reading right now, they just read 0.
It's 237 meters, I believe, that just read 0. Now, don't be shocked. I mean,
Yeah, no, I get
they
that.
still get a minimum bill. It's just when they get the bill, there's 0 use.
So the difference from that to the 763 is 5 and some change, 5 years and some change.
Yes,
Did we want to, were we looking at buying all 763?
yes.
Okay. And then you were mentioning the phase-in install. Did we plan to keep them on a shelf? And
No.
install everything?
That is where the RFP comes in for the installation.
Okay.
If we hire a firm to do this instead of, Public Works has their own duties to do and manage. But the firm will also, and Donnie will clear up an RFP when we get there, they'll give us an inventory list. They'll make sure the meter is installed properly. They'll make sure the meter is working. They'll make sure that it connects with our software. They will also inspect our pits and identify on a report which ones need to be replaced right away because they won't put a new meter in a pit that's damaged. And then which ones we should look at in the future and which ones are okay. So we'll get all this in a report that is beneficial to us all as we move forward. And it also allows us to do a mass replace, so we're not piecing this out over the next few months. They, talking to some of the vendors, they can do it in a week. Okay, any other questions on the meter side?
Yeah, I'm sort of still in there.
Okay, go ahead.
You were mentioning the 5 or 6 year change out. Does that mean we will change the meters out
As we get closer to the expiration
of the warranty or the life?
of the life of the
Okay.
meter,
Okay, that's.
of the life of the meter, that's where we will go ahead and do the
and start
rotation.
rotating early, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and the way I was hearing it, it sounded like after install was 5 or 6 years down the line.
I
That's way early.
I apologize,
No, no, no,
we're
no.
looking about 15 years out before we have to do a massive,
Start doing it.
yes.
Okay.
A lot of the steps that we've made, and Thursday will be our first 90 days for all of us, is projecting out so we can eventually get to the point where we don't have this kind of large number coming at us. So all of our buildings are lined up in plans now to look at future challenges, heat pumps, roof, everything, water heaters, our sidewalks, everything. So what we're going to do is, you're going to see in the budget, is that we're going to project out every year money, so we won't have this happen again. The same thing with the pump house, and Donnie's going to go into that detail, but Joe, myself, Joe, and Donnie have gone through this extensively. I mean, we have gone over backwards, sideways. I'm thinking 15, 20 years from now. I'm not talking about just our 4 years together. I'm talking 15, 20 years from now, so the next person, next council won't have to write this big check. And I'm excited about this plan because I'm a numbers guy, but I can see the light, and it's not a train. I'm excited. I mean, these guys have worked hard, but continue on. And please ask questions.
I have a little bit more.
Yeah.
Thinking further, when we start to do the phase out, would we buy in bulk then? Do we want to overbuy now? So we have some sitting on the shelf, and what is their shelf life sitting? No. I know, I'm asking those.
Good question.
And what I've obtained, what I've been instructed, is I would not do a overbuy.
Okay.
I would buy maybe a few each year as if you needed to.
Okay.
And the reason I wouldn't do an overbuy is because technology changes. And it may be, who knows, one day we might be able to do like Chesapeake Beach and have a radio tower on our water tower that reads their whole town at one time. We can't afford that. So technology would change. I wouldn't.
I'm going through the line.
I know, I'm just
Of
answering.
Bulk purchasing.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Amy, she did a great job on this, but also the meter is an actual battery. So
Okay.
if you're overbuying it sitting on the shelf,
So, yeah, that would
your
be shelf
15-year
life.
warranty
Yeah.
also starts
Oh,
when
okay.
you buy the meter.
Not when you install it.
Yeah, not when you install that. So if you order it, and that's why we're looking at RFP possibly to install. Because that's when your warranty actually starts when you purchase the meter.
And
So it's
before
important.
your wheels start working, because I know how you guys think, and you're on it. Moving forward, you say, well, we're gonna purchase these meters. I've indicated that we can have them paid for in, I think, 4 years. Well, there's more than meters here that you're gonna have to look at moving forward.
Yeah.
We're talking saddles in the ground. He's identified some things that need to be replaced. What's that pipe thing? What do you call it, a blue pipe or?
Blue
something
collar
like
pipe
that.
used in the water meter itself was kind of world's greatest thing, the plumbing that came out back in the 90s. Everybody jumped on it, used it, but they didn't think about the chlorine. And the chlorine actually reacts with that blue collar pipe, and it actually disintegrates over time. So it gets brittle and it snaps. And unfortunately, all the meters that we have are with that blue collar pipe. We've had 10 maybe since I've been here that we repaired. And that's one thing that, it's like 30 years old too, so it's kind of uncycled away. But that probably was a lot easier when it came out. It was cheaper to process, it was cheaper to buy, cheaper to put in the ground. And nobody really thought about the effects of chlorine and what chlorine would do to it after, coming to a period. So now we're starting to see that we outlaw that like we promised an outlaw since we did discover that.
Well, there's another factor at play here. Good Lord, I lost my thought, I couldn't wait to tell you. It flew right out of my mind.
Can I ask
You
you
were
a
talking,
question,
Johnny
Joanne?
Owen.
Oh, make sure, you have another question.
Those were all my questions involving the meters.
All right, good. All right.
I'm just curious, what's the difference in the bulk price versus the non-bulk price?
20% off.
20% difference?
We get a 20% discount if we buy it at 500. It's $300 compared to what, 230 maybe, roughly?
Yeah,
Per meter.
Right.
Per meter, and maybe that unit is $300 if you buy.
oh, I know
maybe.
Versus
it came back, circled around. This is not the only component, this is not the only thing that we've addressed, and a few of you may remember, we did some legislation with the fee schedule, so that any new house, they pay a deposit that requires them, number one, to upgrade to a 1-inch line, which most, if you reach the 50% bill, you'll have to put in a sprinkler system anyway, per county. That requires a 1-inch meter, we're all 3/4. And they have to update the pit and the vault. So they pay for that when they come to do either 50% or more improvement or a new house. So that's the other part of it. We tried to cover everything.
One other thing over to it. So back on August 9th, we kind of had a discussion about this, we gave a similar presentation. Is this a different plan than
It's
that?
a little
Or is this
different.
the next step in that plan?
It's a little different.
A little different.
Yeah, I've had some more meetings with Donnie and with some of the vendors, and some other things that kind of played a role in that we'll discuss during budget that help with the rates.
Okay. This is a refinement of that plan.
It's just a refinement, yes.
So I had one question, Donnie, just kind of curiosity, that you mentioned on the warranty that the warranty begins as soon as we install, because it's based on the battery. As soon as you
Purchase, yeah.
okay. So we buy 700 of these or whatever, and then the warranties all expire at the same time?
Yes,
Okay. Just
but we have 900, we have 1,000 services, so that's where we kind of phase in the other 300 like San Francisco. And we also put, 200 new ones, 100 and some new ones in already.
I don't know.
109, so those are new, so they would expire, but then that's before they do, that's where Joanne's talking about maybe. Just because the 10-year warranty's up, that doesn't mean the meters are gonna fail, but that's as long as they're warranted for. Usually the meter life will, be 15 to 20 years, you probably get out of the meter. Normal life.
Yeah.
The ones we have now are 30 years old.
I wouldn't disagree with you. Manufacturers get very smart these days that things fail when warranty fail.
Right.
So I'm just wondering about phasing time. And just like I'm just wondering out loud because you said that. It's like, wow, 700 meters warranties all fail at one time.
We don't want that.
Worst case scenario.
Right. But that's a true statement, the warranty does expire at the same time. And that's where I think, like the mayor was saying earlier, you have to plan 8 years out, you put money in the budget for a meter replacement, and you might do 250 at a time. You need 4 years to do, 250, 250, 250, and then you cover. And then you can stagger your warranties out.
Right.
And once you get into that cycle, you start to stagger out. But right now, the problem is we need new meters, and also, as Corinne said, we dropped the rate. It was a 10,000 gallon minimum usage, and dropped down to 8. So we want to make it fair to the customers and make sure we get an actual reading for them. Instead of giving, they get a 0, we get a minimum bill. So if they're using 8 or less, they
I definitely understand the issue, yes.
Right.
A household of one person is not using the same amount of water as a household of 5 people.
So that's another part, we're trying to be fair to everybody.
That's part of the 5-year conservation plan, so that houses that have less people, who use less water, only pay for what they use, similar to the structure Cabot County has.
Got it.
Make it a benefit out of that.
Anything else on the meters?
Thank you.
How about the well replacement? You guys ready to discuss that? I think a few of you have had an opportunity to go down and view But just in case you didn't, I put some lovely pictures up there for you. And as you're aware of the situation, we applied for Maryland Water Quality Funds. We did not get funded, we were dropped from the priority list. The issue did not go away, and again, I said we started this around about 2-3 years ago. Now we're kind of at, we got to do something, and I'll tell you why, and I didn't put this in writing, and no one's here from Chesapeake Beach, so I'm going to say it out loud. We went to Chesapeake Beach. There was a situation with our water tower, and we needed an interconnection between the two towns for water. We have that capability because they came to us a couple years ago and asked us to give them water while they were doing a project or putting something online. We gave them that permission. This last round, they denied our request. Okay? So included in this well house upgrade is a pump around, so that we'll never lose that capability or be dependent on another entity to have water from our wells, should we have to do something with the water tower or a main component. I just want to put that in there, but I didn't want to put it in writing.
And if you haven't been by there, please get by there. But Donnie can explain it, but that bypass is something we added into this. It's very important that we do this all at one time. If you go there, you'll see that it's a scary situation we're in right now that we can take care of pretty quickly. But go ahead and explain exactly what you're looking to do over there.
Well, first I'd like to thank Joanne, because I think she did a great job in putting the presentation together, and she made my job easy, right? But she covered just about everything. But, like I say, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But what we're doing with the bypass, as the mayor was saying, when we take the tower offline, and we have to do that every 2 years to wash out the inside, interior painting, we have to take it down for maybe 2-3 months at a time, because that's the inside, power wash it, paint it, then you have to let it cure, you have to take the samples, do all that type of things. So when we do that, we take the well offline right there at the shop, at our shop where the tower's at, and that has no way to pump into the system. So that well's off, you know, the tower's off and the well's off. So we're relying on Greenwood Avenue well, and that's, if something happens, like lightning strike, something happens to the pump, if something hits that well, then we're done, pretty much. We don't have any water. We don't have a well that we can do. With this bypass, we can pipe that well at our public workshop, tie it into the existing main so we can run that well, and it doesn't feed into the tower. So we have that tower, that well would run, and we have Greenwood, so then we have, you know, repetition in our water system. And it's always good, state loves it there, or big clusters on that, you know, contacting them, BCJ, did that years ago, you know, that type of thing. So and that's really not a major cost, and, you know, needs to be done at the same time. Right now, the well house is 30 years old. You get chlorine and chlorine fumes in the atmosphere like that. The interior with the electrical components in there, with the chlorine, they pretty much serve their lifetime. We got chances of that stuff. And the problem with those parts is now it gets to the point where you can't replace them, you can't find them. The starter goes up for the well pump. You have a soft start, they call it, and gives you into a 3-stage start because it's 40 horsepower pump. So that's a start, you need a couple contacts, pull in, a couple things have to happen. We jerry-rig some of that to keep it running as it is. If we lose a couple of those parts, we're using the water system also. So this would include all the new controls. We're going to put them outside in a watertight area. We might even be able to move them into our public works building so they won't be in the chlorine atmosphere, you know, for the future. We're going to make it's not very weathertight now. We had a problem last year when we got a cold for a couple of weeks. That's a sensor line actually froze, and that's what turns the tower, turns the wells on and off. It was sensing, it froze, and it said the tower was high, so the wells didn't come on. But actually, the tower had been used for 2 days and only spring. Lefty came over and saw that, caught that. It was just about to run out, but the pressure sensor froze and locked it at 70 pounds. So this thing is full. So the building's not, you know, heating air isn't cooled in there. It's not. And also, it's a pit, which is now outlawed in the well. The water line coming from the well itself comes into the building at 3 feet under the ground. And it runs 3 feet underground to the tower. And actually has a vault. You have to look down and see the flow here. That thing gets flooded often. So that's a problem with cross connection. You have, you know, groundwater, rainwater getting into it, and it's also an electrical component in there. It's a flow switch in that line that tells you when the flow is on and the chlorine kicks on. So if you don't have any flow, the chlorine isn't running from the tower going over the chlorine. all that stuff is submerged now with the rains we had this year. It's really an issue. They built that station with a little bit low anyway, and the road, that level is, water runs in here, so it's a cross contamination problem, and he's not real like that. So we're gonna eliminate that, we're gonna bring the building up 2 feet, get it up above the road, get the floor 2 feet higher than that, and we're also gonna bring a pipe up where you can work on it. It's about 30 inches. Your meter will be there, your chlorine contact point will be there, everything will be right there at a workable level, easier to see, easier to work on. We're gonna do the building to match the shop, so it fits the neighborhood better. Spray foam insulation, so be real energy efficient. Public works, like we did the public works building, we'll probably use general contractor, and then we'll do a lot of the tasks ourselves, kind of frame it up, and whatever we can do, we'll probably do the bypass connection also. So, that's why you see the prices broke out there. I've got prices on several different items, and that breakdown kind of shows that, it shows the unique prices, that's where you see the broke out items at, and that's where we got those.
It's on, is it page 7? Or is
Page
it-
5, maybe.
No, right there, what page is, I can't read the numbers.
Page
7.
No, it's about $1 on it, we do. Thought it was a 5.
But can I say this one fun fact? Did you see Donnie when he said the pit, it's in the pit, there's a picture of the pipe in the pit? And MDE doesn't allow that anymore with cross contamination? A lot of you might know that, not know this, but I'm gonna share it with you. Right next to that was the old wastewater treatment plant. I'm just saying.
Where the public workshop is now, that was the
Yeah.
old wastewater treatment plant site, so. I mean, that pipe pressure, it's under pressure, but still something happens, and you get a vacuum, you get a leak out in the system, it always goes back and water in, so that's just not a good thing to have.
You know, I mean, as you can tell, the amount of effort, research, breaking down the numbers that these guys have put into this, you know, we're at a point, I mean, when he talks about freezing, they have 2 space heaters, like you use in your little house, sitting on cinder blocks inside of here, because it fills up with water, and they can get electrocuted when they walk in there.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's not the best of.
No.
Yeah,
It's not-
so I mean,
it's a model,
you know, we're at a point now where shooting, I mean, you know, 30 years, it served its purpose, but it's time to take care of this issue before something bad happens. And that's why we're bringing it to the council. We need your support on this. We need you next week to move ahead with this.
Well, the real important thing, to remember, like, when everybody has water, it's not a problem, as soon as you lose it for 15 minutes, the whole neighborhood, the United States thing on and doing it, you get called right away, as soon as you lose water, so if something major happens, you lost water, it can be critical. We do have a connection point with Chesapeake Beach, but the problem there is too, is their towers now are probably 20 feet taller than ours, so we even tried to connect with them. The pressure will be a lot higher because it's the elevation of where the towers are at, and the feed, we have to almost do like a fire hose between 2 hydrants to put pressure reducers out on that. We could open an emergency maybe, but it would overflow our tower and constantly run, and they wouldn't allow it because, you know, they have a drain their system with the seas running, because it'd be going out of our tower, because their towers are higher actually, so, you know, that was a good idea, it was an emergency last step, but now they put, what's going on? By Browns Beach development there, and that tower is actually high. Chesapeake Village. When
Yeah,
they put
that's
that tower
the
in,
newest one.
right, that's the newest one, so that's probably 20 feet higher than that water tower, so you have an overflow situation there. So,
Do you mind, can you just explain a little bit about how we're proposing to pay for it?
We're gonna fund it through the reserve fund. And then we're gonna pay ourselves back over a period of time with the capital fund that we're gonna do in the budget. That is equal to the amount of the new debt service we proposed in the FY19. So it's not a new impact to our utility, but it's merely an impact that the revenue goes strictly to capital for future projects. So you pay yourself back to pay for what you taken out of the reserve.
Right, yeah, we're taking it out of the reserve, we're not
Yes.
financing it,
No.
we're taking it out of our reserve, which, I mean, that's what the purpose of that is for, things like this.
Yeah, I was merely showing you, once you take it out of the reserve, it's paid. But I was merely showing you how you would recoup that to put it back in the reserve.
And that's key there, though.
Yeah.
is key. We're putting it back, I mean, we're putting the system in place to be able to fund this stuff, but we're putting it back in when you see our budget.
So you don't drain your
Yeah, you want to keep
funds.
drawing down the
Right.
reserve.
Yeah, so about 4 years,
Yeah.
you have it paid back.
Right.
Right. So,
Some of that might be offset by additional revenue, we actually have working meters, so.
Right,
That's not
exactly.
gonna cover all of it,
a
but.
lot of things. Well, we have new houses being built, I mean, there's a lot of different things. You know, there's 5, 3 on Fifth Street alone, but I think these guys did an amazing job. And if you do, I know, I'm kind of joking, but I'm not, but get a chance to go over to the well house. Just don't go inside, stay outside.
I've been.
I know you've been there, so just take a look at it. It's just needed for our residents. This can turn really bad really quick, and we've just been lucky. So, any other questions for Joanne?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions.
Okay.
One for Donnie, how long is this gonna take
I would
to tear down and
say,
rebuild?
we probably can get it done in 3 months, I would think.
Okay, and then, okay, then my question for Joanne is, it says, building demo / rebuild 30,
Yes.
30K. What's the actual breakdown? What's the cost for the demo?
You'll have to get that.
We
Because we're
plan
going some
on, the only thing we have to get a contractor for, because it's concrete now, it's like a concrete prefab building, and it's probably, it's 13 by 17, so the roof, we have to get like an excavator type, like John Wright or some local contractor to help us pick that up and, pay for disposing the concrete. And then, we're taking our back, Public Works should probably take care of the rest of the demo. And then we're gonna frame it up, it's two courses of block, so we're gonna hire a mason to do that part, but the Public Works are gonna do the framing. So that 30,000, actually, I came up with that with $100 per square foot, the house type building. So we're using $100 per square foot to do that.
I'm good.
Thanks.
How old is that well pump?
That's pretty new, that was in 2016.
Well, yes, I felt like we replaced them recently.
Yeah, we replaced both well pumps themselves pretty recently. One was both since I've been here, and in 2007 or something.
Yeah, and that has a generator that we.
We have this also, this well house will have a generator with a switch that has plug it in. We already have the generator I bought when we were here in 2010, that will run the whole water system.
Yeah.
But we're having a transfer switch added to this project.
Okay.
So we set the plug right in, transfer it, and
And
we go.
take it.
Water tower holds 250,000 gallons. So the good thing about that is we use power. We still have, and we're using about 140,000 gallons a day. So we got reserve. So you can still have a little bit of time, so it gives us time to keep the generator.
Yeah, to get it broken up, yeah.
So it's not like you have to have a generator kick on as soon as we lose power. We have probably 2 weeks. They have supply. The problem is with the fire protection, if you have a fire, then
Yeah.
you have a problem with that. So
Yeah.
that's why the tower's at 250, even extra fire protection. That's what the community use. What the well pumps are doing, the tower's just been paying into a couple of years ago, extra things. So that's in pretty good shape, actually, the water tower itself.
Joe, you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
Anybody else have any questions?
That was helpful.
I remember going to the building when it was brand new. Because I was at the groundbreaking, they all got gold shovels.
Oh, all right.
We still have them somewhere.
Yeah, might have to do that again.
You might have to hang that up on the.
Reuse the
Yeah,
Break it back out.
Yeah, exactly. Reuse it.
Well, so we're all on the same page. Next week when we come in here, we're going to be going over approving this. So if you have any questions, take the next 7 days to ask Joe or Donnie any questions. And other than that, I appreciate that. All right, well, that is our last item, and thank you so much for coming.
I thought today was the one that for next week.
That's okay. We're glad you're here.
I'm glad you're here. I came all the way from Lusby.
I know you moved. I was wondering what you were, I was like, well, all right,
I thought it
maybe
was a town council.
she came up to Neptune's or something.
See everybody.
All right, well, thank you for coming. All right, guys, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second, all in favor? So moved.